All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for jumping on, Eric. Feel free to
You're
take
welcome.
it away.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. How are you guys and gals?
Doing great. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's
Good,
nice to
thank
be
you.
here. It's good to be here. So boy, there's a lot of AI in today, huh? Angela, Amanda,
Yeah.
James, there was a lot of AI. Those things drive me nuts. Don't they drive you guys crazy?
Yes, a little bit.
So tell me some of the things that you want to talk about today. So I want to kind of open this up more to questions, and then I'll kind of fill in the blanks as we're talking. But share with me where you're at in your business. Anybody who wants to kind of share where you're at in your business, where you'd like to take your business, and what obstacles or challenges that you're finding right now that we could address together today.
I would like to learn how you're using that cold calling to generate, build up your downlines. I tried to do a little bit with Dan on Friday. So yeah, I'd just like to hear your experience on that. And
Sure. So let me kind of give you an overview, what I deem is important and how to properly scale. So one is, I think you have to approach this thing with the right mindset, right? Mindset is more than half the game. So it's really important to come to this with a mindset of that you're treating agent attraction as a profession, not a hobby. That's number one, right? That you are really dialed in, that you are committed each and every week to spend time and effort in an effort to build your organization. My goal is really twofold every day, right? Number one is to identify, by asking the most appropriate questions, people that are worthy of going into my database, where I'm going to spend the time, put forth the effort, and utilize the resources to enhance that relationship. So only somebody is going to get into my database if they are in fact eXp curious and receptive to doing business with me. If they're not getting into my database. It's not a popularity contest. I'm not out there trying to dance, dine, or date with people. I'm out there to build an enormous organization. The second focus is, and remember I said this, the fortune is in the follow-up. I am not a one-time close. I don't believe in a one-time close. I think when people, hey Dan, how are you, buddy?
Good. Tim and I were on with a Compass recruit. It took a lot longer.
Gotcha. So I think at the end of the day, there are some people out there go one-time close. They're missing the game. People are going to do business with you if they like you, if they trust you, and they deem you as being competent or responsive to their needs. Having said that, I am big into what I call relationship selling. I'm not pushing. My focus is to be of service each and every day. It is not to sell people. It is to be of service to people. And how you're of service to people is to understand what their problems are so you could solve them, or needs are so you could meet them. And that only happens from asking appropriate questions. So each and every day, I'm trying to identify people that I am following up with and moving the ball forward. So again, two focus. One is enhancing the number of people in my database each and every day. And number two is staying on top of those people. In every CRM, there's a calendar, and it's really important that I don't drift behind the contacts that I have to stay in touch with. So I'll continue with mindset. So what else? You asked me, about cold calling. It's about really being proficient at honing your skill set. So never being intimidating, knowing that you've got a superior product or service to sell, and to go out there each and every day with a honed skill set, knowing how to invite somebody to eXp, to identify if they're open-minded, being able to objection handle. When someone gives you an objection, you don't look at them like a deer in the headlights and go, holy crap, but you embrace that. You embrace that objection. If someone's not giving you an objection to be mean or malicious, someone's giving you an objection because they want you to extend an olive branch and help them navigate around the thing that's inhibiting them from taking action with you. So being really proficient in terms of objection handling, being able to clearly and concisely ask an appropriate question to determine if somebody's open-minded, and then moving that relationship along. My mindset is also that nobody is bigger than eXp. Nobody is bigger than eXp, right? eXp is a multi-billion-dollar company. And at the end of the day, if you approach somebody with a high level of comfort and confidence, if somebody is open-minded and open-hearted, they could simply take the time to compare and contrast what eXp offers versus what they're receiving from their existing brokerage firm, so they can then determine if eXp best aligns with the ultimate direction that they want to take their business. Does that make sense, Angela? right? So really, really important. So fortunate in the follow-up, I'm being a little redundant here, but I want you to really kind of like drum into you. So treating this as a business, doing this consistently, honing your skill set, having a focus each and every day of expanding your database and staying on top of your follow-up system. Knowing that in the right mindset, nobody is bigger than eXp. And then I never sell people. Yes, I am a trained sales professional. When I was a real estate coach, I was known as well as anybody in the industry, being able to stand up there and sell. What makes somebody a great salesperson? Dan will tell you this is not about being a great orator. It is absolutely not. It is about how to move somebody forward by asking them the appropriate questions. And my focus each and every day is to be of service to people. It's not to sell. My goal is to say to somebody, are you open-minded to, again, compare and contrast what eXp offers versus what you have in place right now to see which one is best for you and your family, which one aligns with the long-term direction you want to take your business. So Danny, that was a very long-winded answer I gave you, but I hope that made sense what I said.
No, that was awesome. Thank you.
But it's not just being good at one thing. It's approaching every call with a sense of confidence and comfortability. Because if you are not comfortable and you are not confident in posing questions to people, believe me, they're not comfortable. And everyone remember our single days? There are some young people on the phone that are probably still single. Dan, you remember our single days. You remember those times you'd walk into a bar and you're looking to meet somebody in a bar and you go, oh my God, it's just a little uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because we don't know what the hell we're going to say. Right? But if you could approach everybody with a script not that you memorized, but a script that you internalized, so it's actually part of your personality, you can't help but be successful. Because who's in control of a conversation? The person who's speaking, Danny, or the person who's asking a question?
Questions.
Right now, if I ask you a question, you have to answer me, don't you? I just did it again, didn't I? This is called a tie down, isn't it? I can do this for the next 2 or 3 hours. It's not the person who's speaking, it's the person who's asking that's in control. So when you are out there building your organization, ask appropriate questions so you can build a relationship with somebody. It's not about you, it's about them. It's about you understanding how to be of service to them so they want to be a part of your organization. And then remember, when you're out there, don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated that, you're talking to a Tim Harris or Dan or, whomever. Nobody's bigger than eXp. And what you're going to find, if I said nothing else to you today, what you're going to find that somebody who is uber successful gets the model much quicker than somebody who does 1 or 2 transactions a year. That person who does 1 or 2 transactions a year, they can't see the forest, through the trees. They want to keep 100% of their commission. They are holding on for dear life. But somebody like Dan, who's uber successful, guess what? He's looking for the next idea or the next strategy that will catapult his business to the next level. He's open to hearing that. So you have to have an influencer to really move the needle. And an influencer is somebody who could really build with, somebody who you could really build with. And don't compromise who you want to build with. Sometimes, it's all about a grab of people. Oh, I'm going to have this many people in my organization. No. Build with the right people. Build with people who you like. Build with people who you respect. To me, the worst thing is having somebody cancerous in my organization, Dan, where they are sucking the time and energy out of me, where I don't have time to do my job. So build with the right people in your organization who you like and trust, and also go whale hunting. You know what I mean by going whale hunting? Look for that influencer. Look for that unicorn. Look for that general that can help really take your business to the next level. And sometimes it's one call. That one call can make you a multimillionaire. It did me. So I sponsored Orlando Montiel. Most of you know who that is, I'm assuming. So Orlando speaks English and Spanish, but he's Venezuelan. He's basically the biggest Spanish-speaking real estate coach in the country, maybe in the world for that matter. And very quickly, I realized that eXp, I'd bring on 1 agent, I'd bring on 2 agents, I'd bring on 10 agents, I'd bring on 20 agents, but it really wasn't moving the needle in a way that I wanted it to. So I'm sitting in my apartment in Miami one day, and I had a couple of friends in the apartment. We're sitting around gossiping, I'm making phone calls as we're talking. And I look at one of them and I said, what is the name of that Spanish-speaking real estate coach here in Miami Beach? He said, oh, Orlando Montiel organization. Pick up the phone, right? World's greatest tool. I pick up this tool and I called Orlando. And I said, went to his voicemail. I said, hey, Orlando, my name is Eric Orland. I'm a real estate coach that just moved to Miami from California. I said, I know you and I coach some of the same people. I've heard really nice things about you as a human being and as a professional, and I'd love to collaborate. Well, Dan knows my phone rang back in 10 minutes and it was Orlando. And I got right into asking questions. Small talk, got right into asking questions. And the inevitable question was this. I said, Orlando, you ever get sick and tired of coaching realtors and then having to resell them each and every year on maintaining your services or buying products from you? He said, oh, Eric, it's a pain in the ass. I said, have you ever thought about taking those relationships that you have right now and monetizing them so you could have a long-term passive and residual income stream? He said, Eric, yeah. He said, I would love that. What are you thinking about? I said, are you familiar with eXp? He said, Eric, of course. He said, but I don't want to sabotage my core business of agents. I said, really? I said, are you aware that Tim Harris and Sean Kokoska are both a part of eXp, part of my organization? Sean's my sponsor, and then Tim's above Sean. He said, you're kidding. I did not know that. I said, do you know who they are? He said, of course I know who Sean and Tim are. I said, you didn't know they were part of eXp? He said, no. He said, but to my concern is sabotaging my core business of coaching clients. I said, do you think Tim and Sean may have had the same concern? He said, probably. I'd like to know more. I said, great, let me get them on the phone. A month later, he came in. And now he's got 2,000 people in his organization. So out of the 2,200 people I have, 2,000 of them are probably from Orlando's group called C5. So that one person, that one individual. And now today, I always go whale hunting. I take an hour a week, each and every week. And I think that if you really want to build something, you have to kind of manifest. What does that look like? What does it really look like to you? To me, I'm just scratching the surface. I'm just warming up right now, right? I'm gonna have 20,000 people in my organization within the next 5 to 6 years. Write it down, right? 20,000 people making over $1 million a month. I manifest that. I wake up thinking about that. It's in my, excuse me. It's in my 5-minute journal, man. Every morning, right? I manifest on it. I meditate on it. Every day, my focus is 20,000 realtors. So each and every day each and every week, I'll spend at least 1 hour a week looking for that one whale, that one unicorn, the next Orlando. And they don't even have to be a person right now in real estate. I'm looking for somebody who's a huge influencer. Think outside the box. What does a title company do all day? Angela, what does a title company do all day?
Sorry, I was muted. They talk to realtors all day.
Talk to realtors each and every day in an effort to build a relationship and drive business for their title company. What does a lender do all day?
Talk to
Same thing.
clients,
Talk to
realtors.
realtors. So they're business referred. So if they're out there talking to realtors each and every day, they have a relationship with realtors. Why wouldn't you pick up the phone and see if they were interested in building a passive and residual income stream to enhance financial security or stability when they decided to pack it in as a lender or a title agent? They now have something to fall back on. Not only to fall back on, but to ultimately will to their kids or whomever. I mean, one of the people that I had sponsored into my organization, does anybody on today's call use a system called Land Voice? Red X? It's the competitor to Land Voice. They're both based out of Utah. So Land Voice is a huge organization, very similar to Red X. And I've used Land Voice for years. I know Sean Kokoski uses them. I know Tim uses them. So, I'm thinking outside the box one day, and I pick up the phone and I call Christoph Mazel, who runs business development at Land Voice. And I get right into the questions, right? So Christoph, tell me a little bit about your company. How long you been there for? I said, are you happy where you're at in your career? Do you see this giving you the opportunity to someday retire with a high level of comfortability or security? And he said to me, no, Eric, I really don't. I said, Christoph, may I ask how many clients do you have at Land Voice? He said, over 100,000. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, do you have a relationship with many of these clients? He said, I sure do. I said, have you ever considered being a part of eXp so you could leverage off of these relationships and help these realtors, right? Help these realtors with a platform that will not only enhance their career, but allow you to grow a fruitful organization as well. Took me a year. Christoph Mansell came into eXp. Right? So vendors, title companies, you know, how many people in today's call go to a real estate association about once a month, or a lending function or title function? The beauty of this model is the following. You know, as successful realtors, you know that you have to go out there and you're really sifting for gold. And we don't know who our audience is, right? Our audience is the world. We don't know we're going to find the next buyer or seller when somebody wakes up and decides I'm going to buy or sell property. The beautiful thing about RevShare is that you know exactly who your audience is. Danny, who's your audience?
Other agents.
So why wouldn't you surround yourself with other agents on a continuum? If you're really serious about building RevShare, why wouldn't you simply surround yourself with other agents on a continuum and start forging and nurturing those relationships? Does that make sense? What other questions coming up for you guys? What's inhibiting you from really scaling your business and having the results you want? Because I got to believe that everybody on today's call, one of the reasons that you joined eXp was because of this wonderful RevShare opportunity. How many people in today's call have an elevator speech, how you would approach somebody if you had 30 seconds to describe eXp? Could clearly and concisely get somebody excited about the opportunity. Really important. Dan, what do you got?
Yeah. So I always say if they're like, what is it? You know, first of all, I like to send them the videos like you do in the call. And, but if I just have a minute to get them excited or 30 seconds, you know, I say it's a cloud brokerage started by a real estate agent. You know, he was one of us, so he understands what we go through, and it eliminates all of the friction and cost between the top level and the agent, you know, whether that's a franchise or a corporation, and it passes those savings on to the agents in two big ways. One, stock awards and revenue share, and two, a much lower cap and cost structure than you'd find anywhere. And because of that, agents are incentivized to collaborate and help each other more. So it's a way to learn and grow faster and keep more of your money and build revenue share, which can totally change your life. So it's usually something like that.
So I like it. I'm going to make a couple of variations here, make a couple of changes. Remember, every time you give somebody a feature, you got to give them a benefit, feature, benefit, feature, benefit, feature, benefit, right? Somebody very often is not going to understand the feature. You have to break it down, especially to realtors, where you really make it digestible to them. You ready? So eXp is the first cloud-based real estate brokerage in the history of real estate. We're also the fastest growing real estate company in the history of real estate. If I said nothing else, what does that indicate to you, Angela? Right? That people are moving there because it's agent-centric.
Yeah, moving there, growing.
There are two direct benefits to being cloud-based. Number one is the highest level of coaching and training. So you are armed, ready? Feature, coaching and training, benefit, feature, benefit. So you are armed with tools and systems to help you elevate your business. Support, over 500 people that are at your beck and call to provide support so you can transact in the most fluid manner possible, as well as technology that helps you identify buyer and seller leads and take up your level of production. The second benefit is financial, Danny, the reason that you and I get up in the morning and go to work. At eXp, there is a cap in place, right? Feature, benefit, allowing you to keep more of what's rightfully yours, Danny, your hard-earned commissions. And also making available multiple other streams of income. One being, when you hit simple production milestones, you are going to have ownership in the brokerage that you are helping to build. And secondly, the company brilliantly and generously, being cloud-based, does not dump money into an office and pay for all that overhead a month. What they do is they take half of their revenues and give their revenues back to the agents like you and I, who are simply introducing this incredible platform to other agents. So you and I now, for the very first time, have the good fortune of building a passive and residual income stream so we can get paid like a broker without having any of the liability, supervision responsibilities, or capital outlay of a broker. Is that something you would find compelling? I've done this a couple of times, guys.
That was solid.
Right? But I'm going to tell you, I mean, the more you practice it, the better you become at it. And, you know, we are very fortunate at eXp. You have some really freaking great leaders. You know, there are going to be copycat models that come out, right? There are copycat models that come out. But let me tell you, I mean, what makes this company thrive is the Tim Harrises of the world, right? Great leaders. Some of the most famous people in the industry are part of eXp. eXp, in really 7 or 8 years, has the #1 or #2 top producing agent in 41 out of the 50 states. So not only are you competing, not only are you thriving being around the best of the best, but when it comes to rev share, you have people like Brent Gove and Gene Frederick, people that have almost 20,000 people in their organization that are some of the best leaders that I've ever seen in my entire career. I mean, just being around Brent, sometimes I look at him and I think, I marvel. I think, not only is he uber successful, but what an incredible human being. Same thing with Gene Frederick. You have access to people like this. You know, what we have at eXp is a leadership, you know, plethora of great leaders for you to learn from and grow with. The beauty of this model is the following. Think about the traditional brokerage firm that all of you came from, right? How is that model set up typically? It's competitive. It's competitive. Think about an agent who's sitting floor time. There are 2 agents doing floor time, and I'm going to use Keller Williams as this example. And a poor buyer walks into the office. It's like, who's going to tackle the poor bastard first, right? I'm kidding around, of course. In our model, it's completely different. Everybody in my team is my partner. We are the sum of all parts that have really come together and are pulling in the same direction, because when more successful somebody on my team is, the more successful I am. So it behooves me to spend whatever time, effort, and resources are necessary to help them build a business so they're uber successful. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Don't try to sell the model. My suggestion to you is the following. Dan is as good a salesperson as Tim. You know, I've known Tim now 3.5 years. You know, I've got a nice relationship. Don't know Dan nearly as well, but I've spoken to both of them several times. Believe me, Dan is every bit as good a salesperson as Tim. No knock on Tim. I have huge respect for Tim. But Dan is equally as good a salesperson. Don't allow your ego to get in the way and inhibit you from being successful. For the first 3 months, become great at inviting to meetings. Become great at simply inviting. Don't try to sell eXp. For the first 3 months, I sat there and I would call Sean Kokoski. He did every one of my calls. Now, Sean's a great guy, but we are as different as the day is long. I have a much different selling style than Sean is. Sean's great and very talented, but I turned off my phone for 90 days and just listened to Sean present. And of course, then I started to formulate and did my own presentations. But take the time. You don't have to, coming out of the gate, sell eXp. Let the people in your upline go to work in your behalf and sell for you. Become great at recruiting. Become great at inviting. Become comfortable and confident in inviting. Hey, Danny, and you know what the beauty is? How many people in today's call are actively selling real estate? You have an inherent advantage. Dan and I got to get on the phone and cold call. You guys, if you're out transacting, are you not communicating with another realtor? You're either listening to an offer or making an offer. So a conversation exists. It's a simple add-on to a conversation that's already happening. Hey, Angeline, I really enjoyed doing this transaction with you. Really nice human being, and I appreciate your professionalism. Angela, I hope you'll take this as a compliment to who you are. Would you be open-minded? And use the word open-minded. Use the word open-minded, because you can't tell somebody they're ignorant if they're not open-minded. But you could certainly ask the question in a way that conveys that, right? Would you be open-minded? Somebody says, no, I'm not open-minded. Oh, great. You're closed-minded. You're ignorant. Good. Have a great day. Right? Would you be open-minded to exploring a brokerage platform that allowed you to keep more of your hard-earned commissions? And Angela may be aligned with the long-term direction you want to take your real estate business by offering you multiple streams of income, one of which happens to be passive. Is this something you find compelling? Would you be open-minded to exploring?
Yes.
Great. Angela, I'm not asking you for any commitment today whatsoever. The only commitment I'm going to ask you to make is the following. I'm going to take the liberty of sending you out 2 short videos. One of these videos is 9 minutes. The other is 30 minutes. Watching these videos will give you a great overview why eXp has grown as quickly as it has, and show and identify the positive impact it may have in your business. And it will also allow you to formulate any questions that you have for me when I follow up with you. Angela, would you be able to watch these videos within the next 24 to 48 hours?
Yeah, I can do that.
Great. I'm going to close for the appointment right then and there.
Okay. Do you
When
have
do that?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you
Yeah.
do you have the scripts of
Yes, I have a
that?
script. So there's a system. I'm going to pull it up really quickly to you. So it's
Okay.
made available. I discount this to everybody at that we're all part of the same group. We're part of Libertas. I created a system, thousands of, I can't tell you how many times a day I get called on this. Eric, we want your system. So somebody in my team who's a lot brighter than I am calls me up and he said, Eric, you really are 62 years old. He said, you refuse to automate anything. I said, I'm a creature of habit like everybody else. He said, would you mind if I come out to Miami Beach? I'll get a hotel right next to your apartment. I'd like to work with you for a couple of days. Well, a couple of days turned into a couple of weeks, and he automated the whole system. Templates for emails, texts, scripts, video, mortgage comparison calculators. Can I share my screen real quickly? Oh, I can. All right, let me pull this up. Let me see how I do this. So it's called Attraction Flow, and this is the system that I used. I never even talked to Dan about this. AttractionFlow.com. I'm a hunter and packer, you can tell it's taking me forever. Here we go. All right. All right, there's my girlfriend on the screen here. She threatened me if I didn't put her on the website, she'd kill me. So this is it's a step-by-step automated process that I used to build a huge organization. I have 2,200 people in 3 years. I've attracted over 100 people. I have 66 that are active after. Next week, I should have about 72. I'm taking on about 6 people. And it is everything under the sun. It is time tested. It's easy to implement. It's step-by-step videos. I'll quickly show you. It's typically $7.95. It's a one-time fee. So we discount it to $5.95 for anybody who's a part of Libertas. It has drip campaigns that allows you to not only forge, but really nurture that relationship. And what it does is the following. Let me quickly show you this. You guys see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 10-point flow chart that based on how somebody responds, that will lead us to take one of 2 or 3 different actions. So it's really, really laid out. I spent a lot of time talking about the 2 key calls. One is the open-minded call. The other is the rating call. Talk about mindset a lot. It is a big part of being successful. The reason Dan is successful is Dan blows up my phone, once or twice a month now. We talk. His mindset is he is going to be successful by hook or by crook of building the shit out of this organization. So talk a lot about mindset, phone calls for leaving tips, a glossary of terms, right? All of my leads are basically categorized into what's hot, warm, and cold. A hot lead is somebody who's going to join my organization in 90 days. A warm lead is 90 days out to a year, and a cold lead is not a really clear indication that they're going to join the organization. They may or may not, but they were interested enough to pick up the phone and take a meeting with me. We set up your attraction flow. We help you compile a list of realtors. I talked about some of this today, going to events. The appointment setting call is my open-minded call. We send out, step number 3 is we send out a remind and confirm text 15 minutes prior. All this is part of attraction flow. These are all recorded calls of me making the open-minded call and seeing how I handle each and every call, mirroring, scheduling a call. And then what happens when someone doesn't show up, the different types of voicemails we use. Then it goes to the 2 email automation. When somebody tells you, hey, Angela, yes, I'll watch a video. What do you send out? What we do is we automate the process. So we put out a really nice written email to them with the attached 2 videos. If they don't open up their video, our thought process, hey, maybe that video went to spam. They receive a text from us within 1 hour, which has those videos incorporated.
Okay.
If they don't watch those videos in totality, they'll get a friendly reminder a day later, right? The rating call, you could the scripts. You could also watch me. You could see them. You could also watch me in video. We do a tech tour every Tuesday, and we do a tech tour every Tuesday that you could bring your clients to. where we do a tour of eXp World and talk about Workplace, KV Core, and SkySlope. We have our onboarding checklist, and then every week we do these. We do Tech Tour. That's done by my partner, Jeff Setlow. It's Tuesday, it's excellent. I do an intro to eXp Realty every Wednesday and Thursday that you bring your clients to. I'll do all the heavy lifting. I'll do the selling for you. On Thursdays from 2 to 4, I prospect with everybody that's a part of Attraction Flow. We're on a Zoom together and we call. I cannot tell you how much business we brought on in the last 90 days. It is wild. It is wild to see the success. So I'll sit there, I'll coach you on the call, I'll make the calls with you. That's every Thursday from 2 to 4. And then Attraction Flow question and answer. Jeff does it every Tuesday as well. Some of the additional resources is a brokerage cost comparison calculator, the Attraction Flow chart, objection handling, and all scripts. And these are just other videos. I've trained Sheila Fageron's team. Sheila's number 4 or 5 at eXp. How I attracted 1,000 agents my first year at eXp.
Is that the one on YouTube? I think that one.
I got a couple of them. I didn't even know I was on YouTube until a couple of people said you're on YouTube.
There's one with you and Sheila that's on YouTube. I think that's it.
Yeah, that, and then Monica. What's Monica's last name? Dursel. I've done 2 with hers. I've done one with GoGo. I'm releasing another one, I think, this week. So what we do is we make this system available to everybody. For everybody in our group, it's $5.95. We sell this to everybody at eXp for $7.95. So if you bring on one person, one capping agent, it pays for itself 4 times. It's a one-time fee. It's $5.95. Somebody who's serious about their business is going to participate. You know, somebody who I respect immensely, as I mentioned before, Brent Gove and Sheila Fageron talked about this at last year's shareholder summit meeting. You know, talked about the validity of the platform, but this is what I've used to really build my business. It is my compass. It is my roadmap that leads me to a pot of gold. What other questions coming up for you guys?
Do you guys have questions on, did you tell them that you basically built it from calling, what was it, 50 to 60 people a day? Or
yeah, that's exactly how I built it. I mean, even, you know, this week, it's funny. I just spent, so I live in Puerto Rico because of taxes. It's 4% taxes to live here in Puerto Rico. And I got a call. I moved here a year ago. My landlord calls me maybe back in November and said, you know, Eric, I need the apartment back from January 15th till the end of February. So a month and a half, 6 weeks. And for a split second, Joseph, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then it dawns on me, right? I got a residual income. I can live wherever I want to live. So I pack up the apartment. I got a ton of stuff here. I take it over to storage. We spent a month in Madrid, took a beautiful apartment in Madrid. We spent a month, and we took 2 weeks traveling around. And what's really beautiful about this is that you could do the business from anywhere. You know, you could really do the business from absolutely anywhere. So when I was in Madrid and then traveling to 5 countries after we left Madrid, after we left Spain, I traveled to 5 other countries. Each and every day I took 3 hours and made phone calls. And it's crazy. I said I was not going to take another trip for a while, and I got a call. I'm leaving next week, or 2 weeks, excuse me. I'm going back to Florida. I'm going to Fort Lauderdale, talking to somebody who heads up one of the associations on the East Coast. So president the last 2 years, right? Influencer. I'm willing to jump on a plane for somebody like that. I then go there to Georgia, bringing on 2 brokerages, both have signed. And I'm talking to an agent who's an icon agent, does $500,000 in GCI. I then come into your area, and I'll be in DC for 1 day, doing a meeting on the 11th. And I'm bringing on somebody from there. And then I'm coming into New York, and I'll be in New York for 2 days. But the beauty is that, you know, yes, each and every day I get the good fortune of being able to be wherever I'm at and pick up this phone and reach out to people, as I mentioned before, in an effort to simply connect with them to see if I could be of service. And if you listen to the great people, not the good, but the great people, the Brents and Jeans, Gene Frederick and Brent Gove, to them, it's all about being of service, man. It is all about being of service. I once said to Brent, you know, Brent has Anthony Robbins comes to his Dallas event every year. And I said to Brent one time, you know, I much prefer to listen to you than I do Tony Robbins. And I meant it. I think he's spectacular because he comes at this business from the mindset of being of service and helping people. And that's why not only is he super successful, but he deserves all the success that he has. But yeah, I picked up the phone, one phone call at a time. And remember, every time somebody says no to you, it simply means you're that much closer to receiving a yes. Every time somebody says no to you, pick up, when you hang up the phone, say thank you, because you're that much closer to receiving your next your next yes. And also remember that if you calculate your income, right, every no has a certain dollar amount attached to it, right? Every no, does everyone know what I mean by that? Every no has a certain dollar amount attached to it. Someone says no, go jump in the lake or something stronger. They're essentially, they're hitting your cash register.
Yeah, just from my experience, the first 3 or 4 months, I really focused on coaching clients and just organic, social media like TikTok, Instagram, getting inbound leads. And as the spring market got busier, I started getting less of those because agents are getting busier. And then I hooked up with Eric. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna test calling agents in my market, just and I'll start at one office and go top to bottom. And I've been doing it for about 2 weeks or so now, and every 5 or 6 people I talk to will book an appointment with me for like a 30-40 minute Zoom. That's kind of my number so far, but it's not even an hour a day to get 1 or 2 appointments usually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, 45 minutes maybe, and I'll get 2 appointments.
And you know what you realize, Dan? People that say no to you today, that doesn't mean no forever. That's just
Yeah.
no to you. They could change. Things are constantly changing in people's lives. As things change in our lives, things change in other people's lives as well. So what you want to do is, remember, focus on building relationships with people. You never know when someone's going to say yes. I have a great story I'll share with you. So, I had been a real estate coach for many years. I did not build my business, though, here at eXp from the realtors that I coached. When I joined eXp, everyone knew why I was calling, right? I got treated like the ugly stepchild with a bad case of acne, right? But, my real estate model, when I was a coach, worked the following way. I had lived in Northern California. And most of my coaching classes were in California, Florida, Arizona, and Colorado. And I would jump on a plane every week. I'd be on a plane and I would coach realtors, and I monetized it, not by charging the realtors. I monetized it by saying to the realtors the following: I'll coach you and train you for free, but I want a relationship with you. If I'm willing to work this hard to give you the tools and systems to elevate your real estate business, how hard will my team work on closing your loans on time each and every time? So I had a mortgage company. I owned the P&L at 9 different offices, right? I didn't take people's money. I wanted a relationship I've never done a loan myself, but when they had the need for a loan officer, they would reach out to one of my people. I wanted a reciprocal relationship. So I was contemplating opening up an office in Austin, Texas, and I flew to Austin, and this woman took me around to meet with different loan officers. And one of the meetings I have was with a guy who today is probably one of my 2 closest friends at eXp. His name is Kevin Cottrell. Dan, I think you know Kevin. Kevin and
I don't know him.
Yeah, Kevin and I are really close. He's about 2 or 3 levels above Tim.
Yeah.
Kevin and I are really close. So I go on this appointment in Austin, and I could be very direct, right? I was born and raised in New York till I was 18. So Kevin said to me, my name is Kevin Cottrell. I said, oh, Kevin, who are you with? He said, eXp. And without missing a beat, I said, let me be clear so you don't have to read between the lines. Let me be clear. We laugh about it to this day. I said, not in this lifetime will I join eXp. I flew here into Austin, and you've wasted my time, right? Talking about something that was completely had nothing to do with the reason I scheduled this trip. I said, so rest assured, not in this lifetime. Well, as life would have it, my business winds up going belly up. I'm 58 years old. I'm poor as can be. I spent 3 years trying to rip apart this model, blow holes into it. And what I realized was the following: there were no holes that needed to be plugged. The model is outstanding. It allows us to keep more, make more, and gives us tools and systems that have never been realized before in the industry. 3 years later, here I am without 2 pennies to rub together. And I called up Cottrell, and we maintained the dialogue. And I said, Kevin, come over to the apartment. Kevin moved to Miami and said, I need to talk to you. He comes over. And I said, Kevin, I'm ready to join eXp. And you can see he's sitting there in the apartment, and the beads of sweat are dripping down his forehead. And I said, Kevin, did you hear what I said? I'm ready to join eXp. Let's just do the paperwork. Let's just do this, all right? You know, I clearly was not super happy that I had lost all of my money and that I was going to join eXp. And he looks at me, instead of taking out like a contract, Dan, I think I told you this. He said to me, wait a minute, before we do anything, I want you to talk to Tim Harris and Sean Kokoska. I had no idea who Tim Harris and Sean Kokoska was. None, right? None, zero. I said, who are they? He said, two well-known real estate coaches. I said, great. I said, can you make time to speak with them this evening? I said, I don't care. Yes, I'll speak to them. We got on the phone and Tim starts imitating Mrs. Doubtfire. And I'm like, all right, I've had enough of you. Done. I said, guys, I'm coming on board. You don't have to sell me. I am coming on board. I have nothing else to do. You know, and Sean says to me, can I please be your, Sean said, who's your sponsor? I said, I don't know who's my sponsor. I don't know. Who's my sponsor? Sean said to me, can I please be your sponsor? I had never spoken to him before. It is the easiest close ever. He said, can I be your sponsor? I didn't have a sponsor. Kevin wouldn't sponsor me. He was nervous. I said, sure, fill out the paperwork. Sean became wealthy or wealthier from that. I brought in Orlando, right? I have 2,200 people in my organization. Well, if I have 2,200, Sean has at least 2,200. My point is that you never know when someone's going to flip. You never know when someone's going to come aboard. Don't take no personally. Embrace no and focus on building relationships. Cool story, huh, Danny?
Yeah, that's wild.
To this day, I'll say to Cottrell, Kevin, what's the single dumbest thing you ever done? And he'll say to me, oh, really, Eric? You're going to pull this crap again? I go, why not? What is the single dumbest, and I mean dumbest thing you've ever done? I mean, the relationship, and I say this to Tim all the time, and Tim and I are close. It wasn't Tim. It wasn't John. The relationship was Kevin. He got nothing out of it. Well, I think Orlando's on his sixth line. So he got a couple of hundred people from it, right? I hope this is helpful to all of you. You know, remember that you could do this. Manifest it. Have confidence to hone your skills and go out there and do it. You have the ability to take this model that this genius created, Len Sanford. He really revolutionized the industry. He allowed for each and every one of us to build our dreams. He gave us a platform that with no money, no capital outlay, no liability, can go out there and build this thing as big as we want it. It's a huge opportunity. Embrace that with all your heart. There's something really significant here. If people are really looking at the model for what it is, we were the first cloud-based. We were first to market. We have a huge head start over any of our competition. We have the best leaders in the industry. We have tools and systems that they can't even compare to, with new stuff coming out. And we have a financial model that allows agents to build wealth. Sit with that for a second. We have a financial model that allows agents to build wealth, have ownership for the first time ever in the brokerage that we're helping to build. And you know, we're only at 87,000 agents. If you listen to Motley Fools, the stock pickers of CNBC or the Wall Street Journal, a lot of people say we're going to have 1 million agents within the next 8 to 10 years. What does that mean? That means we're at the very tip of the iceberg in terms of our growth curve. What does it mean to us and what does it mean to our families to be a part of that growth, to have ownership in that growth? Mary, is that not phenomenal? There's not one analyst in Wall Street today who would not tell you that eXp's got incredible value what the stock is trading at right now. We're at $190 2 years ago. Of course, the stock then split and the whole sector was decimated by world events. But eXp, I mean, we're leading the charge. And then to have the ability to build an organization that you get paid on 7 levels, 7, without any territorial boundaries, because there's no brick and mortar, where you could have agents spread across all 50 states and every country where eXp operates today and will operate going forward. The question is not, do you want to join eXp? The question is, why wouldn't an agent want to join eXp? And when you own that, I'm glad that you're here, Angela. When you own that,
Thanks, Angie.
Bye.
when you own that, you'll have a thriving business. Any other questions come up for anybody? I hope this was helpful. Mary, would you do me a favor? Can you send me a copy of this? I appreciate it. Dan, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you,
If
Eric.
you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to pick up the phone and call. You got a great leader in Dan, and you've got a wonderful opportunity in front of you. Seize the opportunity. Don't let this pass. Don't. I'm a former investment banker, and I worked for a company called Robertson Stevens for 3 years, which is headquartered in San Francisco. We were known as the tech shop on Wall Street. This is during the big boom. So I have a background on looking at business plans and management teams. And I often say that, we're a company that helped take Google public, Amazon, eBay, Yahoo, just to name a few. And I always say, if you look at eXp as a business model itself, I believe that this business plan is as viable as any business model I ever looked at because of the inherent benefit it provides to we as realtors, not just here domestically, but on a global basis. Really appreciate everybody spending a few moments with me today. I hope this was helpful. Really enjoyed being here and talking about something that I love, which is eXp. Have a great rest of the day, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.